for the All-America game tonight. But our next guest joins us from the other major showcase this week. Guys, it sounds like anyone who's anyone is in the Lone Star State because both of these guys are, and so is our friend Brandon Huffman, so welcome in. Brandon, every season, true freshmen make big impacts. Every team wants their true freshmen to make that big impact. We saw LSU linebacker Harold Perkins, Penn State running backs Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, both of them great. Texas lineman Kelvin Banks and others making some noise in year one. That's great. But what's great about this group in particular is the array of positions. From what you've seen, which positions allow for more immediate success?
Well, I would say offensively, running back and wide receiver, you see a lot of freshmen make early impact. You see them get on the field. There's 4 receivers on the field at any given time in a lot of these offenses. In the running game, you have that talent, but you've got 5 veteran offensive linemen blocking for you, an experienced quarterback. It's easier to get on the field. And I think those are the 2 positions where so many of those players have been playing at a high level from their freshman year, their sophomore year in high school on, that it's not as big of a jump to get from high school to college. So offensively, I think those 2 skill positions, you probably get guys on the field much quicker. Physically, they're ready. On the defensive side of the ball, it's not unusual to see safeties playing as true freshmen. It's not unusual, like you mentioned, with Harold Perkins, to see a few linebackers. It's in the trenches where you tend to be a little bit more veteran because a lot of those guys need that adjustment physically with a year in the strength and conditioning program, with a year in the nutrition program. So a lot of it's the skill position guys because of really, I think that the influx of 7-on-7, these guys have been performing and playing at a high level, and it makes the transition to college a lot easier at those positions where you can physically play, whereas opposed to the line where you might need to be a couple pounds lighter, a couple of pounds heavier to get on the field early.
Yeah, a little bit tougher for those big guys. Meanwhile, a player I know that you and many other are very excited about to see is quarterback Dante Moore. Now, UCLA obviously has the need with the departure of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but what about Moore's game shows you that he can be the guy early for the Bruins?
Well, I think if you just look at the arm that he's got a college-ready arm already. And if you look at Chip Kelly historically, he hasn't hesitated to play guys early on. Dorian Thompson-Robinson didn't even participate in spring football, and he was this close to being the opening day starter his true freshman season. When he was at Oregon, Marcus Mariota played as a redshirt freshman. Essentially, Darren Thomas, who took him to a national championship game and a Rose Bowl, put his name into the draft so that Mariota could be the starter as a redshirt freshman. So Dante Moore is going to a school where they lose their 5th-year starting quarterback in a battle that may be wide open with a transfer from Kent State and Cullen Schlee coming in with Ethan Garber, who's already there, and a couple of other guys. But Dante Moore is going to be the most talented physically quarterback on the UCLA campus. I think that ability to play high-level football for 4 years in Detroit is going to make that transition ready for him, and he's got that college-ready arm. Plus, he's just got an amazing skill set and leadership ability that I think he can command the huddle even as a true freshman.
Yeah, Brandon, there's no doubt that UCLA will need that offensive boost. Another program that will need a boost on the offensive side of the ball is Texas A&M, and they get a 5-star running back in Reuben Owens, who flipped late from Louisville once Coach Scott Satterfield left for Cincinnati. And this allows the A&M Aggies now to bring in a player that has potential. What do you see in him?
Yeah, and I think, we talked about it a little bit earlier with Anthony Lucas going into the portal. Texas A&M may be in a position where a lot of those guys that they signed in their 2022 class that were true freshmen maybe didn't get as much playing time as they wanted. Now you might see Jimbo shifting more to playing a lot of the true freshmen. So what do you do when you get the number 1 running back in the country? We saw during the Rose Bowl the impact that Nicholas Singleton had on Penn State's offense in that game. Richard Young can have that same kind of impact on Reuben Owens, not Richard Young, another good running back though. Reuben Owens could have that same kind of impact at Texas A&M. Just watching him in practice, even in the first couple of hours of the morning practice in the All-American Bowl, you see just how shifty he is, just how quick and dynamic he is in the open field, his ability to run between the tackles, his ability to catch the ball and move around in space. You see a guy who's already physically ready to make that jump, even into the SEC, and play as a true freshman and potentially be that spark plug to that Texas A&M offense, which had its problems all year long.
All right, continuing the year one impact discussion, an epic haul from Nick Saban on signing day. 2 guys, though, stand out in particular, both for their play and the need. The number 1 safety in Caleb Downs and the number 1 offensive lineman in Caden Proctor. So how big a role can those 2 play in helping Alabama get back to where they've been many times before, but not this season, the college football playoff?
Well, it's just good to see that Alabama has been able to pick up some recruits lately that might be impact level player. I was wondering if Nick Saban was ever going to pull any elite players in. No, what he brings in, Blair and I were joking about this in practice earlier. You look at Caden Proctor, and you're like, okay, who's the NFL vet that came to practice with the team today? And it was Caden Proctor. You look at him at left tackle. When he walked into the player registration room, you just look at a guy that you expect to be seeing in a room of a different color in 3 years from now, a green room at the NFL draft. He's already got NFL size, already got NFL length, and he's an NFL level tackle already. Nick Saban has not shied away from playing true freshman linemen. Tyler Booker saw some time this year. Alex Leatherwood started as a true freshman. Jonah Williams started as a true freshman. So there's a history of Bama bringing in those NFL-ready bodies to be first-year starters. And I think Caden Proctor, being the number one tackle in the country, he was in line to start no matter what school he picked. But at Alabama, which has done a really good job of recruiting on the offensive line, this is one of the best linemen that they brought in probably close to a decade.
Brandon, you're the founding member of the Benjamin Morrison fan club. Obviously, had a tremendous true freshman season at Notre Dame, but they have another corner that's coming in that's also has a lot of hype in Micah Bell. Could he be the Benjamin Morrison for the Fighting Irish next season?
Yeah, and I think that he might even have a chance to impact the game in the way that Benjamin Morrison did with the number of pick sixes that Benjamin Morrison had, but it wouldn't just be on defense. I think Micah Bell is going to have an opportunity to come in and be a punt returner and a kick returner for the Irish. Brian Mason was the special teams coach of the year, the national special teams coach of the year. And you look at what Notre Dame special teams did this year, blocking punts, returning punts, and you see the speed that Micah Bell has. This is a guy that I anticipate is going to get himself in the lineup just strictly for special teams to start, but then get himself on the field potentially as a playmaker opposite of Ben Morrison on the other side of the ball, or on the other side of the field at cornerback. And I think he's got the opportunity to be that impact player in two phases of the game, both on defense and in special teams. And if there's two coaches that really can kind of, get that out of him, it's a guy like Mason and then obviously a head coach like Marcus Freeman, who's a defensive guy at the heart. And I think both those guys are going to find ways to get Micah Bell on the field immediately.